Hello students, this is Kanika. Welcome to my channel PrepBiology. We have started unit 1 of class 12, that is reproduction, chapter number 1, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. This is class 10th of this series. So today in this lecture we will understand about the pollination and its different types. Let's start with the lecture. Now, first of all, what is pollination? Pollination means pollination, that is the pollen grains, somewhat related to the pollen grains. The pollen grains are the male gametophyte, we know that, okay, that produce the male gametes. So pollination is the process, it is the process of transfer of pollen grains. It is the process of transfer of the pollen grains from where these are present, from anther to the stigma. So this is pollination. It is the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma. Okay, that process is called the pollination. Okay, is it clear? So if this is the pistil, okay, and pistil has 3 parts. This is the stigma, this is style, and this is ovary. Okay, now we know these are the anthers. So this is the process of transfer of pollen grains. Where the pollen grains are present? These are present on the anther. So transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma, this is the stigma, to the stigma, that process is called the pollination. I hope this definition is clear to you all. Now let's discuss about different types. So this is the chart that shows the pollination types. There are broadly 2 types of the pollination. First is the self-pollination, second is the cross-pollination or xenogamy. Okay, under the self-pollination we have 2 categories. First is the autogamy, second is the Geitonogamy. These all types are very important, so understand it carefully, okay? And this chart, this flow chart is very important. So self-pollination have 2 types, autogamy and Geitonogamy. Now autogamy is further divided into 2 categories, homogamy and clistogamy. So second type of the pollination is cross-pollination or xenogamy. Under this, there are 2 agencies present, abiotic agencies and biotic agencies. Under the abiotic agencies, there are different categories, and under the biotic agencies, there are different categories. Okay, so we will discuss about these all types in this class. So first, we will start with the self-pollination. Self-pollination, as the term suggests, self means same, okay, within. Okay, so pollination, the transfer of the pollens from anther to the stigma within a same flower, that is called the self-pollination. Okay, so if this is a flower and we have this is stigma and the anthers contains pollen grains, and the transfer of the pollens from anther to the stigma of the pistil within a same flower, okay, that process is called the self-pollination. Okay, so now it requires different features that in self-pollination where it occurs in the monoecious plant. Okay, the self-pollination occurs in monoecious plant. What are monoecious plants? The plants which contain both male and female reproductive parts in the same plant. Okay, then the self-pollination occurs. Okay, if in the different plants, then the cross-pollination occurs. Okay, so the transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the on the same plant, that process is called the self-pollination. So first condition is it should be a monoecious plant. Second condition is if the pollination occurs in the same plant, then the genetic material is also same. Okay, so it is genetically similar. Okay, it is genetically similar. Third feature is it does not require, it do not require any pollinating agency. Any pollinating agency. Why it do not require pollinating agency? Because the transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma occurs within a same plant, or same flower. That's why it does not require any pollinating agencies like bees, wind, bats, any animals. It does not require these kind of external factors or external agencies. So these all are the features which are required for the self-pollination. Okay, so I hope this self-pollination term is clear to you all. Now if we see this chart, the self-pollination is further divided into autogamy and geitonogamy. Let us discuss about it. First is the autogamy. Autogamy, and second is the geitonogamy. Understand it carefully. These two terms are very, very important. Auto means within, self. So autogamy is the transfer of the pollens, from anther to the stigma, the transfer of the pollens from anther to the stigma within a same flower, within a same flower. That condition is called the autogamy. Okay, if the transfer of the pollen grains occurs in the stigma of the same flower, that condition is called the autogamy. I hope this is clear to you all. Now what is geitonogamy? Geitonogamy is the transfer of the pollen. It is the transfer of the pollen from anther to the stigma of another flower of same plant. If this is same plant, on same plant there are number of flowers are present, so the transfer of the pollen grains occurs from one flower to the second flower on the same plant. That condition is called the geitonogamy. I hope this difference is clear to you all. Autogamy is the transfer occurs in the same flower. Okay, geitonogamy is the transfer of the pollen grains occurs from anther to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. Okay, so this difference is very, very important. Now if we see autogamy occurs, first condition is autogamy occurs in bisexual flower. What is the meaning of bisexual flower? We have discussed in first class of this chapter. Bisexual flowers are the flowers which contain both male reproductive part and female reproductive part in the same flower. Okay, if the flower contains male part, that is stamen, and the pistil part, that is the female part in the same flower, that flower are called the bisexual flower. Okay, so in bisexual flower the autogamy occurs. Now if we talk about the Geitonogamy, the transfer occurs from one flower to the another flower. It requires external agency. Okay, so Geitonogamy requires the external agencies. So Geitonogamy is functionally similar to cross pollination. This line is very important. Functionally, Geitonogamy is similar to cross pollination. Why? Because it requires external agencies like wind, like bees, like insects for the transfer of the pollens, as in the cross pollination. That's why it is functionally similar to the cross pollination. But genetically, if we talk about genetically, it is similar to autogamy. If we talk about genetically, it is similar to autogamy. I hope these points are clear to you all. Okay, why they are genetically similar to autogamy? Because the transfer occurs in the same plant. Okay, that's why in the same plant there is no difference of the genetic. Okay, so this is all about the self-pollination and its types. So self-pollination, if we compile the self-pollination and its types, self-pollination is divided into autogamy and Geitonogamy. Autogamy within same flower, we have discussed, and Geitonogamy, another flower, the transfer of the pollen to the another flower of same plant. I hope this is clear to you all. Now, if we talk about the autogamy is further divided into two categories, homogamy and Cleistogamy. These terms are very important. Homogamy means homo means same. So when the male and the female, reproductive parts of the flower mature at the same time. Homo means same time. That condition is called the homogamy. This is very important. That condition is called the homogamy. Okay, when male and female parts are matured at the same time, that condition is called the homogamy. Now Cleistogamy. Cleistogamy's term is derived from the Cleistogamous flower. We have discussed in the previous class that what is the difference between Cleistogamous and Chasmogamous flower. Okay, so Cleisto means a closed flower. So if the condition is like this, the flower is closed in nature, means the reproductive organs are not exposed outside. Then which type of pollination occurs? Then the self-pollination occurs. So Cleistogamy is the process in which the transfer of the pollen grains occurs from the anther to the stigma within a same flower, because here the condition is Cleistogamy, means the flower is closed, means the reproductive organs are unexposed in nature. Okay, so Cleistogamy occurs in Oxalis, Oxalis, Viola, Commelina. These are the example of the Cleistogamy. I hope This is all about the self-pollination. If we see the diagram, if now this is one plant, this is second plant, okay? If the pollen grains the transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower, that condition is called the autogamy. Okay, now next condition is if the transfer of the pollen from anther to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. This is same plant. And the transfer occurs from one flower to the another flower within a same plant by the external agency. That process is called the Geitonogamy. I hope the difference between the two terms, autogamy and Geitonogamy, is clear to you all. Now, let's discuss about the second type of the pollination, that is the cross-pollination or xenogamy. Cross-pollination or xenogamy means if we look at this picture, if the transfer of the pollen grains occurs from the anther to the stigma of a flower in different plant, that condition is called the cross pollination. That condition, this is one plant and this is second plant. This is the flower. The transfer occurs from this flower to this flower of the different plant. Okay, so the transfer of the pollen grains occurs from anther to the stigma on the different plant. That condition is called the cross pollination or xenogamy. Okay, so if there are different features of the cross pollination or xenogamy, first feature is if the plant is different, the transfer occurs in different plant, it is genetically different. Okay, so it occurs in different plant, so genetically the genetics is different, genetically they are different from each other. Okay, the third is it occurs in unisexual flower. This is very important. What is unisexual flower? The unisexual flowers in which only whether they have male part or female part present in a flower. Okay, so it occurs in the unisexual flower. Unisexual means if this is a flower, it contains only anthers, and this is a flower, it contains only pistil, so it contains only male part and it contains only female part. So in these kind of flowers, cross pollination occurs. Okay, now in which plant cross pollination occur? In which plant cross pollination occur? It occurs in dioecious plants. If we talk about plant, this is one plant and this is second plant. Dioecious plants are the plants which contain only male plant or only female part present on the plant. So if this is the one plant and this is the second plant, so it contains only the flowers that contains only male parts, and this plant contains the flower only contains the female flower. So that plant is called the dioecious plant. I hope this is clear. And the last point of the cross pollination or the xenogamy, it requires external agencies or agents for pollination. Okay, so the pollen grain, the transfer occurs in different plants. That's why it contains external pollinating agencies like animals, bees, birds, wind, water, etc. Okay, so this is all about cross pollination, or the another name of the cross pollination is xenogamy. Okay, so this is about the cross pollination. If we see this chart, we have covered self pollination types, autogamy and Geitonogamy. Autogamy is further converted to homogamy and Cleistogamy. We have covered this part. So in the next class, we will discuss about the cross pollination or xenogamy types, abiotic agencies and biotic agencies, that is the agents of pollination. Okay, so we will discuss this topic in the next class. I hope this lecture is clear to you all. This lecture is beneficial to you all. If you like this lecture, like, share and subscribe my channel, that is PrepBiology. Keep studying, study hard, study smart. Thank you so much.